shit about that thing. What the fuck? Yeah, everything's in a fucking weird ass place.
You're away from the computer for 1 week and just everything breaks.
True that, or just looks different.
Editor, themes. Where the fuck is the live button?
Is that not it at the bottom?
I
It
mean,
says you're streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that part. But
Where's the
part
actual
that I can
stream?
see what we're doing, aside from this one page.
With all the stuff that we're doing?
Yeah, where's
Right.
the one that had all the stuff?
Is this not the one with all the stuff?
Yeah,
It looks like
a mini feed, but
it looks like Streamlit.
it was sectioned off where I could have a chat.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember that. Do you have to like reconfigure?
Well, now you can hit the unified chat and it comes it up, right?
The unified chat is over here.
Okay.
So that is that chat, but I like
Right.
to have both of them on there.
Mhm.
And
Right.
Because sometimes the chat fucks up,
Right.
and I want to see what's going on. Save broadcast. Cool. Just click it again. Go away.
Yeah, it looks like Streamlabs like
CloudBot.
changed.
Store. Dashboard.
Was it not the dashboard?
Studio mode. Is that it?
I'm trying to click. I'm clicked it.
Yeah.
Clicked it, and it's not doing
I
damn.
clicked it. Dashboard sounds like where it would be out.
Yeah.
No, that just opened up the dashboard, the Streamlabs dashboard.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
But we're live anyway, so that's
Yay.
fucking great.
What is action replays, or is that?
That's the new thing
Oh,
where you
okay.
can replay the fucking last 30 seconds because that was funny. Do the thing. It's,
Right,
it's,
right.
It's fucking. It's meant for Fortnite nerds that are just gonna sit there and like.
Right.
Just
Look,
do sound effects.
you know, yeeted a guy's
Yeah,
corpse
it's a way
into
to
a bush and
quickly
flossed
create,
on
like,
it.
a 10-second GIF
Right.
of whatever the
Whoa,
hell you did.
now there are two of us.
Ooh, that's
finally
fun.
went into studio mode, so that's
Okay.
studio mode.
All right.
Got it.
Okay.
So you see
this is
what-
live. This is where I'd be editing the different things.
Mhm.
Right.
Where you'd be throwing up graphics, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about that today. We're just getting everything set up. I hope you can hear us. We just moved into the new studio, so
I don't see any audio movers.
That was the thing. I had all this fucking working, and that's mixer.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. You can hopefully they can hear us.
I don't know where the.
Okay, they can hear us. Excellent. Good. Good to
Yay.
know. There's at least that.
Hi, Kitty.
Hey, Bubba.
Okay, so. Been filtering. This is as good as it gets, I guess. We're just gonna try and have events
Cool.
there.
We'll figure
What
it out.
events?
Hey, Bubba, you want to come on? Come on.
Events are people like subscribing and shit.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Just press all the buttons. Yes, exactly.
We tried that. It gave us what we have now.
My boy,
This
how are you?
over here.
Just enjoying the all the space.
Right?
Yeah, I haven't seen Willow at all.
Yeah, she just has been running around doing stuff. Please don't purr into the microphone, please. I appreciate that.
Okay. There. That is as best as I can get it for today.
That's pretty good. I'll take it.
All right.
All
That's
right.
our history. Apparently, nothing's happened in the last 2 months. So,
All right, so just a quick audio test. We'll be good to go.
well, a quick audio test is about to be for the next 15 minutes because this has definitely been touched. This is not exactly an easy fucking step.
You couldn't have gotten the big beer.
Well, they didn't. If it was either Budweiser in a giant 6-pack, or like with the tall cans, or fucking High Life, and I'm not gonna get Bud Light Orange. Or
All right.
Yeah.
Roll.
Let's
Let's roll this audio test and see how this turns out. Maybe we'll get really lucky, and this is the
Fucking get
one
into it.
thing that works.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we'll get lucky.
That is totally
That's living
happening
the
right
dream. All right, this is my audio test. 1, 2, 3. Hey, mic check. 1, 2.
now. Audio
Stop.
test. Big ol' audio test from this microphone. In a way, I'll be sitting naturally. is what I'm doing.
I'm getting to it.
He's
I'm
getting
the only one that like didn't have to move my shit. So
I should sing on the show.
This should be
more often,
fun.
I think.
should.
Yeah.
Okay, now I get to go over there and listen to it.
Yeah.
It looks good from here. Yours might be a little bit low, but other than that.
Yeah, I think you're usually like up here, like all up in this mic. Because otherwise it blocks your face.
Archer's already eating the fucking plant.
Oh.
But it's made of plastic.
He doesn't need to eat the shit.
You know, he definitely shouldn't eat the plastic plant. I'm with you 100% on that.
He's just a fucking idiot. So
He's not a bright boy, but he knows what love is.
no, he really just knows how to be annoying. It's like 100% all he knows.
Was I watching it was comedians in cars getting coffee, and Jerry was saying, like, it's so weird how you think stereotypically that men like dogs and women like cats, but really, when you think about the kind of relationships that men want and women want, that should be completely reversed. You know, men want, you know, a woman who's a little bit independent, you know, takes care of herself, et cetera, et cetera. Women want a relationship that's all, you know, affection and emotion and codependence. And
All right. You're fine because it's set for Hector talking further away.
Okay. Is mine weird?
This is just, I just want it a little bit higher to you. I mean, I'm going to also probably turn yours up. And
Yeah,
just a
so
little bit
where the
closer.
dot is, just speaking.
That's where you talk into.
Gotcha.
Just moving it just a little bit will be fine.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm also going to try and...
Thank you for hanging with us, chat. We're sorry.
Yeah,
This is
it's a whole new setup.
We literally just built this office 3 hours ago. So this is all running around like a
Super
crazy
not gonna
person.
long enough.
There you go.
Well, that's what I'm used to wearing it this way as well. But... Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
The control room was turned all the fucking way down. Alright, a little bit closer so I can fucking maybe
Archer's
reach-
just going to be a guest appearance this whole
Archer's-
episode.
Oh, yeah, for real.
fucking cat.
You might just have to, like,
Alright.
not have that on.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to get it to where I can hear what we all sound like
yeah.
right now.
Okay. Yeah, that works.
All right.
Because I can't reach anything
Yeah.
without getting up.
Hey, Aaron.
She has your headphones on.
Oh, this is so much fun.
It's
This is
hilarious.
I love every minute of this.
Yeah, Twitch, please tell us if you hear the jiggly
Right,
bell
yeah.
in the background.
So how's everybody in chat doing today? I hope you're having a good week.
Yeah, happy Monday, everyone.
Right?
Happy Indigenous Peoples Day.
Right.
Never forget, Columbus is in the bad place.
He is in the bad place. Yo, Brooklyn, what's up? We're just finalizing everything since, you know, it's all just
Okay, cool.
Or-
Dog's not sending now for some reason.
Because it got moved.
Canadian Thanksgiving. There you go.
Ah,
That's
there
a
you
choice.
go. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's an
Let's do
excellent
that.
choice,
Do
yeah.
they do the turkey thing?
I don't know what their traditions are.
Hmm.
I assume it's just a lot of maple syrup.
Also, like, do a lot of other cultures have Thanksgivings, or is it just us in Canada? Did Canada just full on copycat
They may
like
have-
Thanksgiving?
They may have just co-opted. I mean, because you think about the history of it, and I use that in the loosest.
Yeah.
You went to like
The version of it they taught you in grade school,
Right, exactly.
where everyone was super nice to each other.
yeah, that's exactly what happened. It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Everyone had some turkey and gravy,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah.
Cool. The ball's up there now.
Oh yeah, no, she won't get up there and get it.
Well, it's Archer, so he's definitely going to try.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But he doesn't know where I put it because he was in another room, so we didn't see it.
Yeah.
So technically now it doesn't fucking exist.
All right, let's get ready to get a little sassy today.
Yeah, sassy
But
time.
I made sure the mouse would reach.
Hey.
Because the entire point of moving a bunch of this shit was to make sure I could reach the fucking mouse to click things, and if I needed to, I could bring the keyboard over.
All right, so yeah, shorter news segment this week. It's been a slow news week, but we have a lot to talk about. Our entire section on Chinese influence on entertainment's got 2 parts. We're going to be going into the general overview of influence on entertainment, such as movies, et cetera, and then part 2 will be a breakdown of the news, what happened with Blizzard, what the reactions have been, what everybody feels about it. It's basically just a giant fuck all mess. I have done more research for this episode than I've done for this show for a very long time because I want to make sure that everything that we talk about is accurate. I wanted to cross check my references. It was a lot.
Yeah. You can't throw accusations like this around and be wrong.
I'm just
Exactly.
gonna try and make it where I can possibly reach this in case I can.
Yeah, it should be fun. It's still not even in frame, so you're good.
Yeah, that's because I have this set. The frame is actually it's larger than what this window is, so it cuts off the bottom and the tops of things.
I need to be in hands reach of the thing.
Yeah. We also have our new studio thing.
Yeah,
Brand
studio
new.
thing.
Brand new thing that we got now that we have a new studio.
I had a thought while it was sitting here on the desk, is like, if I could hollow that out and run a wire up to it and have it hold a microphone.
That'd be cool.
No,
I was,
it'd be
looking, I
cool.
was just like looking, and it's like, it would totally just hold a microphone.
It would.
All right, let's get rolling on this.
So there's our things, our collection of things. It's a fine collection of things.
Still need a DVD copy of the thing.
Yep. Alrighty.
All right, thanks for sticking with us, guys. Really appreciate it. As always, feel free to chime in whenever we're talking about something. We'll try to get to your comments as they come up in the chat. So, yeah, it'll be.
Now they actually would reach.
Yeah, they would.
Wow, look at that.
Just had to move some shit.
The lighting actually worked
Also,
out
if any
pretty
of us
well.
seem too quiet or you need us to
Still
speak
need
up
to
or
be lit from
something,
the front.
Yeah, it would be better
let
if
us
it was
know,
just a
and then we'll do that.
diffuser like right here.
Yeah, like one there and one here.
oh, well, thank you for
and
that.
then some backlighting
I appreciate it.
It's all part of the plan. All right, but there's. I still sound like it's me. I'm really far away.
All right. We've been gone for a week. Let's pretend we know how to do a show.
Yeah.
You super don't.
Thanks for the cheer, buddy.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm gonna press record now.
We're back, and blizzards in hot water. Adventurers gear up for an all-new episode.
This mouse is really hard to see.
Yeah, you need like a magnifier on the screen now.
Or like the circle mouse where it shows you where you're at.
Oh, yeah.
Like I can't see. Or I just put my fucking glasses on. That'd be great.
Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the show. We are the Surly Nerd, your one-stop shop for geek news that might have flown under your radar over the last week. I'm your host, James, and sitting next to me this week
Yeah.
is the producer of this fine show.
I guess we're all going to be next to each other now.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta rewrite the whole fucking
We're not
intro
across
now.
from each other
This
anymore.
is weird.
Yeah.
If you're watching us live
feel
on
like
twitch.tv/thesilly
you
live
are.
Monday about, late today.
We were
You know, it doesn't surprise me at all. This is the part we weren't prepared for.
Not
This is
surprising at all.
hilarious.
I did not prepare for the fact that we were all going to be sitting around next to each other. Yeah, if you're watching us live on twitch.tv/thesurlynerd or on Mixer or any other live streaming service, you'll notice that we have a new studio. It is not fully put together. Basically, we did a speed run of building an office today.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
It
took
was
about-
not world record time.
It was not. It took about 3 hours, and we're not even close to done. There's all kinds of fun decorations and things that we're going to do. But hopefully we sound a little bit better. Hopefully the whole...
I mean, hopefully the audio is good at all. I mean,
that's all we're really
I'm
crossing our
still
fingers
not
for.
sure at
Yeah.
this point. So this might all be a wash.
Okay, so Tony, you're sitting next to me.
Yeah.
As always, we have our third chair host, Hector.
Hello.
And if you're new to our show, hey, welcome. This week is going to be a very interesting, complicated boss room that we're doing. We're going to be talking about China's influence on modern media, movies, TV, all that good stuff, but also talking about the big blizzard debacle that happened over the last week. But before that, we do have all the news that's fit to rant about for your ears. Don't forget that you can keep connected with us through thesurlynerd.com. You can follow us on all social media platforms and even donate to the show. Every penny donated goes right back into the show that we make for you every week. With all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers of all ages, it's time for the prelude.
Oh, the reason I was making a hand motion was
I
you
stuttered.
stumbled at the beginning. It's like, do you want to redo
Nah,
that?
I'm just like, fuck it.
But
We're
at
doing
this
it live.
point,
It's
yeah.
okay. We're
Fuck it,
doing it
we're doing it
live.
live.
It's the first episode of the new place. Be
Right.
a bit raw.
Yeah, we're going to be a little bit raw. We are interviewing you. That's exactly what it should feel like. I do.
Is it?
You knew it was going to be 10 minutes into the show.
I really did know.
It's a little much.
There, that works.
That's pretty cool.
I'm down with that one.
Yeah.
There we go. I gotta find the mouse again. It's literally gonna be saying every time we do this show. Wait, where's the mouse?
Yep.
Prelude.
All right, this is the prelude. This is what we've been doing with ourselves this week, what we've been playing, what we've been watching, what's been occupying our free time. Hector, you probably have a more exciting week than us. Why don't you tell us what you did?
Let's see. I got into A couple of new shows. I watched this movie that I didn't think was going to be very good. It was kind of like some B movie fodder.
What was that called?
It was called The Domestics.
The Domestics.
The Domestics
Is it about really crappy beer?
No, it's about a couple living in the post-apocalypse. They pay absolutely no mind to what caused the apocalypse and just instead go like, well, here it is now. And the main threat is gangs. So like as they try and get from where they currently are to like the wife's parents' house, it becomes the plot of the movie. And it's maybe like a 4-hour normal drive, but for them it's like weeks of like arduous travel through gang-infested territory as they create a map of where they're going.
Okay.
I mean, The Walking Dead's been on for how many years, and they've gone through like what 10 miles of Alabama or something.
Exactly.
I think they're in like West Virginia now or something.
I don't know, but either way, the post-apocalyptic times make going anywhere very problematic. Unless you're in Mad Max post-apocalyptic times, which you have cars, you can go everywhere really quick, but it's all desert for some reason.
The thing that I really liked about the movie is it never got cliched. In fact, it fought really hard to not be cliched as often as possible.
Okay.
And when it comes to apocalyptic movies, that really is welcome. Let's see. I started watching The Righteous Gemstones.
That's an HBO show.
Yeah. I've enjoyed that show quite a bit. It actually just ended this week.
Oh,
so
okay. I'm on
you
like
get to watch
episode.
all of it.
Good. Yeah, I
It's,
got to like episode 6.
John Goodman?
John Goodman. It's Danny McBride's child. It's his created by. And it has what's that kid's name? Adam something.
Sure.
Yeah. It also has Walton Goggins, who is like my favorite of anything ever. And fuck, it's funny.
It's just about people who have a
It's
megachurch,
this family who owns a megachurch, or in this case, string of megachurches.
Right.
And they are fucking Beyonce rich. Like, it is silly.
like Joel Osteen rich.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like they have their own stadiums.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and the show is very, very funny. All the acting in it is phenomenal. I usually don't like Danny McBride and things, and he's really good in this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Kind
it's
of in the
real-
same boat.
It seems like
Very
it's
hit or
kind
miss.
of a. It's definitely an expansion where he learned a lot from like while he was doing Eastbound and Down.
Yeah.
And you can see that comedy styling and him honing it helped create where this show has gone to. And it's very funny. It's an HBO show. It's only 8 episodes for the first season, and it's done.
Nice.
So I got through most of it, and then this the final thing that I wanted to talk about is this Netflix show called Marianne.
Okay.
Now this is a horror series. It's French. The dubbing is very good, so if you want to do dubbing, that's great. If not, I find the dubbing good because I don't like to read when I'm trying to be scared. But the thing is with the show, you don't have to try to be scared. This is one of the most horrifying fucking shows I've ever seen in my life. Not in the like slow burn, like, ooh, something's creepy in the corner, Haunting of Hill House kind of way. Like, it's just always terrifying. You're just, the first episode felt like an entire movie. Wow. We couldn't believe there were like 9 more of these to go. It was so horrifying. I think I got about 2 episodes in, and I'm already like irrevocably damaged from it.
You've already changed pants like 5 times.
Yeah, for real. Shit is scary as fuck. It's some of the best horror I have seen in years, as far as just outright frightening, like movie, like horror. Just the kind that makes you just nope the whole time you're watching.
Well, it is spooky time, so
It is spooky time.
Spooktober.
Yes.
Any good spooky
I've been enjoying
recommendations?
Spooktober with what I've been doing.
Yeah? What have you been doing?
So I'll just bring up like the 2 movies that I finished recently.
Okay.
The first was 3 from Hell, Rob Zombie's latest. It's a continuation of House of a Thousand Corpses, and the other one that everybody likes more.
Yeah, the other one's better.
It is, but he started with House of a Thousand Corpses, and that's where all those characters came from, and I loved that one. I remember seeing the trailer for House of a Thousand Corpses like 3 years before that movie came out.
Yeah.
And I was just like anxiously awaiting, and it got lost between all these different studios. And it finally came out, and then he did Devil's Rejects, and that was brilliant. And it ended really well, the end of Devil's Rejects. Well, this continues that story, and it didn't need to.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You're such a big Rob Zombie fan.
No, the story's fine. The characters are still great. It's wonderfully shot. The acting's brilliant, but it's just those characters it ended so brilliantly that it didn't need to exist.
No reason
like
to bring
you
them back.
wanted more of it. You wanted more of these characters and see what their adventures were.
It was better left wanting.
Yeah, it was better had we not gotten it, or maybe gotten another prequel story.
Right.
But unfortunately, with the actor who played Captain Spaulding's ill health.
Yeah.
He was only in the movie for like maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
He did it because he wanted to.
Yeah, he wanted to,
for the fans.
Yeah, he wanted to do it for the fans. He knew everybody loved that character, but he also knew he was very sick. And Rob Zombie's just kind of like, we'll fit you in, and you couldn't really do a prequel without him, and you had to bring in a new person, and it didn't work well for me. Either way, I watched a horror movie I did not think I was going to like, called Haunt.
Okay.
And
Sounds very generic.
It does, and it's a story of like 6 college kids. They're at a party and they're like, "Hey, let's go to check out this haunted house or something."
The most generic.
And they go to this haunted house and then proceed to, get murderized. And generic and boring, and like I was like, whatever, I'll see if I'll enjoy this. And by the end of it, I was like, this has got some really cool death sequences. Just like the special effects itself were so
Is
good.
it on Netflix?
I don't remember where I watched it. It might be on there.
Yeah.
I've got like a giant list of the horror things that I'm going to be watching over this month. So next week is hopefully going to be a lot more of them as we have time to actually sit down and watch horror movies.
So on my side of the world, just to kind of wrap this whole thing up, I haven't had a chance to do a whole lot because Tony and I we moved
to a house and built stuff
and it's been a busy week. I did get through a book though. I did get through the Expanse 3.5 book. It was a recommendation from you, Hector. That is the one that is Amos's story. It is about as fucked up as I thought it was going to be. Amos is one of the most fantastic characters in all The Expanse. By the way, if you're not watching or reading The Expanse, you should be watching or reading The Expanse.
Yeah.
I will not stop recommending that every week. But Amos is one of the darker characters who really, you love him so much, but you're like, you went through some shit, didn't you? And you finally get that story, and you're like, oh, man, you did go through some shit.
Yeah, some shit.
Like, holy crap, dude. And so I think that that adds an extra layer of love for the character that I have for when I go back to watch the Expanse in December when it comes out finally. So other than that, I started Joe Hill's Full Throttle. I'm not that far into it. I'm listening to the audiobook of it. Like Ashley Cummings is a voice actress in it. Neil Gaiman's in it. Joe Hill reads the story. Like the cast, Zachary Quinto reads the story in it. So if you want high quality audiobook, definitely pick up Joe Hill's Full Throttle. I'm only into the first chapter or so, but it's super, super excellent.
Do you know what we didn't talk about that we all did a couple weeks ago, but since we skipped a podcast, we watched In the Tall Grass.
Oh, we did watch In the Tall Grass.
We did it all together.
Yeah.
So Joe Hill film on Netflix, In the Tall Grass. It is a story that I considered one of the most disturbing horror stories that I've ever read. I did listen to that one in audiobook. That is a story that he wrote jointly with his father, Stephen King. I will say that I'll let you guys go first. I'll go second. What are you all
neither one of us had read the book, right?
Nope. Still haven't.
I enjoyed the movie. It's it just left me kind of going meh because the villain is kind of like humanity. But the reason humanity is the villain is because of a fucking space turd, and I just couldn't give a shit about Magic Space Turd. There's some carvings on it, it's old. But
so the premise that kicks the story off is a very Stephen King-esque premise, and I don't want to give it all away. But I can see why you wouldn't like that. Hector,
you saw Children of the Corn. It's magic corn grass.
Yeah, so I was expecting pretty much exactly what I got. The kind of I grew up in areas with cornfields and really tall grass, and I did play in them as a kid. So a lot of the visuals of being in there and really feeling wait, which way's the road? That's 100% real. So it is easy to get lost in one of those. And it kind of brought that up a lot very easily in me watching it. The story was very cool. The gore was really cool. The mystery of it all was very intriguing. Because I didn't know what to expect. Right. So it was all just flying at me all at once. Some of it seemed a little bit rushed, and some of it seemed like it was pulling punches. But other than that, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and so my assessment of it is I don't want to give anything away. You should definitely watch it. It's Spooktober. It's on Netflix. Definitely go watch In the Tall Grass. It's a good piece of cinema. It's still slightly disturbing as far as watching it visually. There's some moments in there. But like you said, Hector, there's moments that you feel like it's pulling punches, and it absolutely does pull punches. And I won't give away what those things are, but there's 2 specific things that are much more embellished in the short story, and is what I found disturbing about it. They very lightly touch on both those things in the movie, and I'm like, oh man, you took away the super disturbing part of it then, because woo.
See, that's the stuff that I wish they'd put in there and had less of Magic Space Turd.
Right. So, I mean, it's a very much more personal story in the book. There's a lot less characters. less characters in air quotes in the book, as in there's a main character who's going through all of it,
Yeah.
and not a movie told from different perspectives for the sake of the movie.
Yeah, and I get why they shot it that way. And either way, I still say people go watch it. It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I mean, what
It's
else
absolutely
you gonna
worth your
fucking
time.
do?
So yeah, that's everything we have for the prelude this week. We're gonna take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into our news segment. Excuse me, in the weekly raid.
Okay,
Wow,
so
my voice started going out.
Yeah,
there?
yeah, whenever all right,
Yeah, cough it up.
Whenever you turn,
Yeah.
can't hear you.
Okay.
So
I'll stay
basically,
straight
if you are responding to either one of us,
Right.
respond to us as you're looking to the
I will
picture.
respond to all of you and the wonderful audience.
Yeah.
That's
Do
why.
it through the
That's
camera
who I
or
was-
do it through the
I will-
monitor.
I will only speak to all of you. Never these two assholes.
I mean, yeah.
I have a question. All right, so Weebdom, even though it's WeebMD, which is what my
WeebMD.
question is. Where did you get your doctorate?
WeebMD is currently going to be on Toonami, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've read about that today. She's doing a voice acting role for Toonami, so we have a Toonami voice actress in our chat right now.
That's
All right.
badass.
Nice. Brooklyn.
I am responding
Where
to you.
you gave us Sonic face.
You gave us
like,
a Sonic face.
Yeah.
Like, what do we do with Sonic face?
We go faster.
We go
is
faster.
what we do.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Is
grab
that
just
is
a
that what
little
you
bit
want
of
us to
water
do? Is
Yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
faster?
in case I run into that problem again. I don't want to be choking on
This-
camera.
It keeps sticking.
It works.
It does. I thought it was gonna be too small, honestly. You know, because I just
That's true.
this big ass motherfucker that I got,
It's like the size of your forearm.
All right.
or
Yeah,
one
fuck Sean.
one normal penis.
Yeah, I mean, size of the average
This is
penis.
the size of the
right
average
there.
penis, right
Yeah.
here.
You are a size queen, Tony. I've heard that about you. Ugh. Okay. My mic is a little lower than everybody else's. Just in terms
Yeah, I've been
of
trying to
tone.
turn you up.
Okay.
All right, no, don't fuck with it.
Okay.
Let me do with it over here, because again,
Do it over
this is yeah.
Got it. Thank you for letting us know. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been trying to slowly turn you up, but you keep turning your
Right.
head, so I
And
don't
it's
know
not
where
helping
to
that my
put.
voice is suddenly like just fucking going out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
picked a
I just didn't know where.
Fantastic
to put you at.
episode to decide for my voice to just shit itself.
All right, I'm just gonna turn you up overall.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, you,
Oh,
you-
no. There will be, those shelves will be probably too full.
Yeah.
Before-
Oh,
long.
speaking of, for our audience, I want to thank you very much for those of you who have been giving us some monetary donations. We had some essentials that we needed to fill out the new office. Like we needed 100 feet of like Cat 6 to like run Ethernet. It was really y'all's donations that did it. And we just want to thank you guys. Seriously, the donations that you give us does go towards the show, and it's really going to help fill out our office. So
Yeah. Thanks.
yeah,
I was just going to show them a magic trick because they think there's shelves there, but there's actually no shelves.
There's actually
Oh, yeah.
There's currently nothing. You can't even put anything on those shelves
No.
because those shelves don't exist.
Right now, it is a frame for shelves.
We didn't have time to put the glass on.
I think that we've got enough wire, but we'll let you know if we end up running into any situations. All right, I've already got that in the
Oh, I
notes,
need
so-
to click titles.
Yeah.
Oh
Still
yeah,
I still love that. I mean, I know I'm gonna have to change everything, and like this week, I need to make a new overlay shit for all the new stuff. But like, I still like this. I'm keeping the I'm keeping the transfer.
Yeah, the transition's still good.
Yeah, I might make more of them and just
transition every time we say something.
yeah,
All right.
I'll just keep pressing that button.
You know what I'm going to do is I'm trying to figure out the optimal way for me to like do this. New table. I'm sorry, everyone. This is like I'm trying to like get notes and face the camera so I can speak to all of you clearly and concisely.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a no. What I was saying earlier, is we can shake hands now.
We can shake hands.
We can
now.
shake
we
hands.
Have, we have two. Good show.
We can play Thumb Wars.
Good show. We can't play Thumb Wars. I would never win.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate that. All right. We have a little bit of news to talk about. So,
For 4 months, he's been subscribed for 4 months.
yeah,
That's all the months.
that's all of the months put together. That's all of them.
Yes.
Thanks for Barian for the Twitch sub.
Thank
for
you
the
very
Twitch
much.
Prime sub. Yeah.
All right, and I gotta find the mouse again. Oh, I found it. It's over here. Well, it turns into just a bar, like the straight up and down if you go over certain stuff. So it's like it's nearly impossible to see. The Weekly Raid.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is the Weekly Raid. It is our news roundup for the week. Before we get started on this week in the news, you might notice that it seems a little bit thinner than normal episodes, and that's on me. Just so we can kind of get into it, I had the choice this week of trying to pad this episode down with mostly non-interesting news items because there just wasn't a ton of very fascinating news, and that would take time away from the boss room, or really give our main topic the time that it needs to breathe and have that discussion and really give it the time it deserves. So I went with the latter just so we can make a more enjoyable boss room for all of you. So news a little bit thin. It was a thin news week. So we're sorry. Kicking things off to get us back on track since we've been gone for a week. Of course, every week we've been talking about what's been going on with the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths. Everybody and their dog is showing up for this show. I mean, we
Crypto?
Very possibly.
Yeah.
I think he's on Titans right now, and there's rumors that the Titans are going to be showing up.
God
on it.
damn.
All right, so that's just a rumor. I didn't put it in here, but apparently, according to a Canadian news source, Tom Ellis from Lucifer himself, has been seen filming scenes for Crisis on Infinite Earths, a TV station that has never aired the show Lucifer, has gotten the actor for Lucifer to play Lucifer alongside Constantine.
Because
let's not forget, he's on a Netflix show right now called Lucifer.
Yeah, because they canceled Lucifer and Netflix picked it up.
Yeah.
But
It was
Lucifer
Fox before.
it was Fox, but Lucifer, the character, is part of the DC universe because of Vertigo, and that is only loosely put in there because of the 2 issues in Sandman.
Right.
That Sandman exists within the universe, so Lucifer has to exist within that universe.
And if this sounds
so the
complicated
show that has
to you-
nothing to do with any of it could be in this thing. It shouldn't be this way. I don't like it.
It keeps getting
I think
weird.
it's
I mean, I
great.
love it, but
Like, we're hearing
but trying to
rumors.
explain it is very no. I just explained how all that worked, and it still doesn't make sense.
I know. There's an entire podcast just devoted to explaining these kind of things. That's not us.
Yep.
It's gotten absolutely out of hand. We've been hearing rumors that there's going to at least be some kind of passing reference to the 1989 Michael Keaton Batman. We've been hearing that the Batman 66, the Adam West, there's going to be at least some kind of reference in there. Possibly Burt Ward showing up. This is an only 5 episode long arc. What else can they do?
It's just going to be one quick shot of everybody standing there. So all I have to do is green screen somebody in, and it's going to be everybody. It's just going to be this long fucking pan shot of everybody going what? Why are we here?
It's like that last bit in the credits of every episode of The Simpsons where it just scrolls at lightning speed across the town, and you get a shot of every character in half a frame.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's got to be that at this point. Because this is getting too expensive to have all these super famous actors in it. It's got to be can you show up to the set for
we
5
needed you
seconds?
the afternoon. Yeah, and that's about it.
Can you be in Canada for 2 hours?
Right. Either way,
We'll film at the airport, okay?
we say this every week, but we just can't wait for this crossover. It's just going to be so dumb.
It's soon.
Yep.
It's December.
Yeah.
It's really soon.
It's really not that long from now.
I mean, the CW shows have started. I mean, I haven't watched them. I'm behind because we've been moving.
Batgirl's pretty good. I
Batwoman is great.
Yeah, Batwoman, sorry. I haven't watched the second episode yet, but the first one, pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Supergirl's been fun. Flash.
Yeah.
Still fucking nailing some Flash. I haven't watched Arrow because
I don't think it's back
I don't
yet.
think it's out yet.
No.
I think it's about to come out.
And I don't think Legends is either.
Yeah, no, Legends seems like it'll be later on, and I haven't gotten to Riverdale either. That's
Yeah,
still
me
my-
neither.
I'm gonna wait a couple weeks on
I'm
Riverdale.
going to wait on Riverdale. I hear it's very sad, and I don't want to deal with that.
No more Daddy Riverdale.
Yeah.
So,
The first episode is about addressing the Luke Perry dying situation. So yeah, it's gonna be a rough ride. Let's get a little bit sassy since we've been gone for so long. Martin Scorsese came out over the last week and said. Basically, the Marvel films aren't considered cinema to him. He thinks that they're amusement park rides. They're not actually films that have substance, that have class. That they're just amusement parks is what he equated them to. He just thinks they're just rides for us to go on and dish out all this money for, but they should not be considered in any way, shape, or form serious, actual cinema. And I feel like we should have some feelings about this.
I kind of agree with him.
I feel like shit like this is exactly why Tarantino said he was going to stop making movies after 10, because he didn't want to spoil his career with a bunch of old man shit. This is the
old man
definition of old man
This
shit.
does very much sound like old man shit.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
This is they're doing it so differently now. That's not how we did it in my day. Get off my fucking lawn. Nah, dude. anyone who would say that about these movies is either not paying attention or too old to watch this with any kind of critical eye.
Right.
All he sees is the bright colors and the flashes, and we're watching meaningful characters develop over literally 11 years. And then crying for like 2 hours straight at the zenith when they like stick the landing on a 26 film franchise.
It was 22.
22, all
Which
interconnected.
is like 2 hours each. That's 48.
Yeah.
That's 2 days worth of non-stop character development over this period.
Yeah, anybody who talks badly about this series of movies, like, don't get me wrong, there are criticisms to be laid at the feet of these movies, but overall, they've accomplished something no other franchise in history has, and
Possibly ever will again.
Yeah,
because they're going to
kind
keep
of
making
incredible.
them, and as long as it keeps working, this is going to literally change filmmaking.
like-
But I do kind of agree with Mr. Scorsese. They're not the traditional arch that cinema has been for since its creation.
You're
Right,
gonna
but-
really have
but
to
ci-
expand
it's-
on that because
cinema as an art evolves. And the evolution right now, and the thing that is in the public zeitgeist, is human stories just told through a superhero lens. So while it may not seem like that's his traditional way of doing storytelling, that's the way that's getting people going to the cinema right now.
And let's
I get
not
that.
forget some of these character arcs, okay? When you think about Thor's character arc from beginning to endgame, when you think about Tony's character arc from beginning to endgame, Captain America as well. I mean, these are huge stories that we're all very invested in, and these characters show actual growth and actual, evolution as humans, and they use that to tell really good stories. There's no, I feel like this quote is absolutely ridiculous.
I think that
it
maybe-
sounds like that kind of thing someone would say who's never seen the movie.
I think the better quote for him is something along the lines of, "This isn't cinema as I was raised cinema to be." But sorry, that's not the way
Yeah,
things are.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. And I think that whenever Marvel eventually does their mobster movie of whatever, I'm guessing a Hulk movie because there was
That'd be pretty
there's the
cool.
Gray Hulk
Yeah.
storyline where he's a mobster.
Joe Fixit.
Yeah, whenever that comes out, then he'll change his mind because he really
That's all he does
It's
is-
all he fucking likes is
That's,
mobster movies.
that's why he doesn't think that there's a
'Cause
good
there are
Marvel
no
movie. There's
mobster
monster
movies.
movies. There you go.
Closest we got was, the first Avenger.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
because it was set in the 40s, I guess,
I mean, there's Nazis, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like this is one of those wrong side of history quotes. It definitely feels like an old
yeah.
man quote. I think that it's being intimidated by what's popular. And like, dude, you still make amazing films.
Yeah.
But like, don't go tearing this stuff down.
Yeah. Old man yells at cloud is exactly right, Brooklyn.
Yeah. All right. So, in unfortunate news, we found out this week that Doom Eternal is actually going to be delayed until 2020.
Yeah, it's a big delay, too.
Yeah.
that's like a year.
Yeah, it was supposed to be coming out like tomorrow, basically.
Yeah,
That's
And yeah.
that's like a year from now. We're getting it. Which
Yeah, it's, March 2020 is going to be the new release date.
okay, so it's not super far away. It's
like 5 months.
It's like an extra 5 or 6
Yeah.
months,
Right.
But I am all for game companies delaying whenever
yeah.
they're like, no, we need to fix some shit.
So they were
Sorry.
very, very, very honest about this, and I give this to id Software, not Bethesda. They're horrible people. But not Bethesda, id Software, the people that are actually
Yeah.
developing this
They're
game.
great.
They're fantastic.
Bethesda, the parent company, evil pieces of shit.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad. God, all my favorite companies are just hurting me.
Yep.
So it's been delayed. So it's going to be November 22nd. It's been pushed back to March 20th. Originally, if you pre-order the Nintendo Switch version, you would get Doom 64 with it.
Nice.
Now, if you just pre-order it in general, even with the delay, you're going to get Doom 64 on whatever console like you get.
Yeah.
It. So that's
Well, so
kind
here's
of
the question:
That's
Is
pretty
Doom
cool.
64 an add-on thing, or if you just don't pre-order it, you don't get it?
You can probably get it as an add.
Because I mean, for people like Hector, just says I do not pre-order shit
Right.
until I know. Like I just don't pre-order.
I'm sure they'll.
I'm-
Like
I'm
you
sure they'll
lose
give me-
out on getting that remake.
They'll,
I
they'll
don't
probably
think so.
give me the opportunity to buy it at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bethesda will say, an extra $15.
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
can
You
pick
know,
that up.
we need.
Would you like this micro DLC of a previous game for $25?
Yeah.
Yes, I would. Weirdly.
We can put it inside of a Doom Man helmet that will
There you
grow
go.
mold and kill everyone.
Oh, and don't
It'll
forget,
just be-
inside of that is also Skyrim.
Inside of Skyrim also plays
Hey,
inside
like
of that.
if it's anything at all like Wolfenstein, maybe the Doom Marine will like find an old version of Doom 64 and just play it as a cabinet.
I just want to find like the part of Doom where you go, Doom Eternal, where you go up to a cabinet and you start playing Doom 64, but then inside of Doom 64 is Skyrim.
Yeah. and just watch your computer slowly eat itself. It's trying to emulate all these different softwares.
But id Software was very candid about this. They said they don't have the polish that it needs. It's not quite going at the frame rates that they're wanting it to. So they've really got to tweak the frame rates to get it like really up to par. They want it to play smoothly on all the platforms it's going to be on.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that their multiplayer is going to be smooth as hell. So they just said the best we can do at this point is just say, sorry, like we're going to eat crow on this. But, you know.
Delays happen.
Yeah, and I've never seen a game be worse because they took longer to make it.
Yeah,
Right.
Well,
Except
with
for
a couple,
Duke Nukem Forever.
yeah, Duke Nukem Forever,
Yeah.
which took forever and
Yeah.
was not worth it.
There's always an exception to the rule, right?
Right, but for the most part, it's always for the games better that it be delayed.
Right. Okay, so our last little bit of news is a bit of a bulky one, and we're going to be talking about the PS5 because there was a ton of announcements that were made about this.
Yeah, it was basically the entire news week.
Right, the entire news week was just Sony.
Okay, so I see that Wired had an article where they talked to Sony, and I didn't read it because I just didn't really
Because
care.
you read Sony and then
Well, no, because
then
I
you just
didn't know what
blanked.
to believe because I'd seen all these leaks from all these other places, and I had no clue what actually was legitimate or not, and if Wired was, getting bad information.
And I'm glad that you brought that up because here on The Surly Nerd, I pride myself on citing multiple sources whenever I go into talking about these articles. That's why we try not to comment about rumor and speculation, or if we do on the show, we specifically say this is rumor and speculation, so don't believe exactly what we're saying.
I've seen the image of the PS5.
I don't even know if that one's real.
Yeah,
But is that real? Because that's the image that they're all using.
It is the actual dev kit that was
Okay.
confirmed.
As a dev kit, sure.
Yeah.
It's hideous, but sure.
99 times out of 100
No,
when
it
it
looks
comes
like
to
God, the Covenant in Halo.
Yeah,
it looks
yeah.
like one of their drop ships.
yeah, it does. It's
I could kind of see that.
basically
I don't know.
designed for airflow at that point because it's a dev kit. They probably don't have as small and efficient versions of the hardware as they want.
Yeah.
So it probably needs a lot of airflow to keep cool.
I haven't seen what Xbox's dev kit looks like for the new whatever
It's
system. It's gonna be
probably a
called.
giant rectangle. It's always
I'm
a giant
expecting
rectangle.
it to be that way.
But the thing about Sony leaks is if you find a leak about Sony, it's like 99% that it's probably true.
Right. So they did come out and they did talk about the legitimate thing. So I got down all the legitimate facts that we know about it. So we know that it's going to be holiday 2020. Makes sense, right?
We all expected that.
Sure.
Yeah.
All expected that. It's going to be called the PlayStation 5. Ooh, big.
You know
big
what?
news.
Crazy.
Honestly, I was hoping it wasn't going to be called the PlayStation 5.
You were hoping it's going to be the PlayStation 360?
I don't
PlayStation
know.
1?
I just maybe something new. Change it up.
Some guy a couple decades ago said, "What
Maybe
if
just
we
call it
just
the
call it?
Stayplation.
What if we just call it the PlayStation 2?" And everyone since then thanks him. There's probably a shrine to him somewhere in the office. He's like
Go up in numbers.
inventor of the PlayStation 2, and everyone's like, "That's so good."
They got a PlayStation
Why didn't we
V.
think
It
about
still
it?
counts
Easy.
as 5. You count this PlayStation V.
It could be worse. I could be call my console the PlayStation.
Look, Brooklyn,
1X,
we don't comment on
X1,
rumors and speculation here.
1XO.
But Vita 2 could happen. I just have faith in it. I'm just letting you
You
know.
gotta give up that, man.
Yeah.
That is
You
dead.
will sooner be playing VR on a console than you'll get another Vita.
Okay, so there's going to be a new controller. It's called the DualShock 5.
Imagine
So
that every single PlayStation has had a newer, updated version of the DualShock controller.
Okay.
Did they say if this one also has a giant fucking waste of a space button in the middle of it?
I like that thing. You hate that thing so much.
I really fucking hate that button.
Okay, so now we're going to get in kind of the technical stuff about it. A lot of these terms and things that we're going to be talking about, if you're a player who uses a pro controller of any kind, these things will be second nature to you, but these are going to become standard features for the new DualShock 5. The first one is what they call adaptive triggers. The developers can basically program the controller to sense the resistance of the triggers. So like if you're like pulling a bow and arrow or something along those lines.
A trigger pull where whenever you're pulling like an
Yeah.
actual gun trigger, it has an actual click where you
Yeah.
can feel it move and it moves back a little bit further. So it actually have a
Exactly.
pausing point and then move a little bit additional. Or making it like you're pulling a bow where it gets tighter the further you pull in the trigger. Most programmers don't really have that. They have the stop back, which is my favorite thing about pro
the adjustable
controllers,
stroke.
which
Yeah.
I hope they have that in their new operating system because I know that's in the list of things we're going to talk about. Is the ability to set a
the full
percentage.
stroke length.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I set mine to 1%. If I touch that trigger, it fires. I don't want that pull the fucking full trigger thing because that's a waste of my goddamn time. I can shoot faster if I don't have to move my fingers much.
True.
That's why mouse clicks fucking work, right?
Yep.
So honestly, I like the idea that they're letting developers have fun with this.
Right.
I just want to know how many are actually going to implement it aside from Sony.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the key word here is haptics.
Yeah.
Haptic feedback is the key word that they're touting around there. They're saying they're trying to develop their controllers specifically around haptics so that you don't have to pull the controller or the trigger very much to get a response, that you'll get a response while you're pulling it, that you'll get that kind of force rumble feedback.
I mean, I generally get a response when I'm pulling it.
I bet you do. Let's get over some of the obvious stuff here. Obviously, there's going to be a new solid state drive, so that's a big one.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, if a new console comes out without a solid state drive, even if it's my Microsoft fanboy, fucking scrap it. That is a waste of my fucking time.
Right.
Yeah.
SSDs are the future, and preferably not SATA.
Yeah, no. Platter drives suck. Stop putting them in things.
Yeah, so disk drive for physical games and 4K Blu-rays. The PS5 discs will have a capacity of 100 gigabytes.
It's Blu-ray.
Yeah, game installation is mandatory, but the console will allow you to just install a multiplayer campaign or the entire game and then delete the single-player portion. There's versatility in this.
Right.
So if
Wow,
you're-
it seems like maybe they worked with Activision on that to make sure that people who want to buy Call of Duty and never actually play the story of Call of Duty
Can just
play the multiplayer and only do that.
It's
Yeah.
funny how games influence design.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? But I mean, it makes sense. I mean, there were people that probably, installed The Last of Us, and they're like, "Why would I want the multiplayer in The Last of Us? Like, that's
Right.
dumb." And they were wrong. The multiplayer in The Last of Us is fantastic.
It was.
But that aside, you maybe didn't want that. You just wanted the story, so just install that part of it. So the versatility there is good.
It's an interesting idea. Again, this comes down to, are developers going to use this feature at all?
Right, 'cause
And
when
I
you-
hope that they do.
When you think about that SSD, I'm guessing we'll probably get, if they're nice about a terabyte.
I'm guessing 500 gigs, honestly. For the
because
first gen, and then the next one will be the terabyte.
The thing about the games and the sizes is a 500 gigabytes isn't going to do much. Red Dead Redemption was over 100 gigabytes. Red Dead Redemption 2, I mean.
Yep.
The new Call of Duty Modern Warfare, at least on PC, is like 135 gigabytes. Destiny 2 is like 89 gigabytes. So that right there would have filled up the hard drive I was talking about. That's 3.5, 4 games.
Yeah, no, it's that's
So
the
I
problem
think
I'm running into
a
right now. 'cause
terabyte really needs to be standard.
I have a 500 gig hybrid drive inside my Xbox, and then I think another 500 as a solid state drive outside of it. And even then, I still run out of space because my fucking files are too damn big.
So if I bought like a Call of Duty and I played through the campaign and knew I was never going to do that again, if I could free up that hard drive space and just leave the multiplayer there, I'd probably opt to.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way of doing it. I think that's the exact way I would do it. I'd be like, install it all at first. Now, what's the piece that I'm done with? Let's pull that piece out and keep the other bit.
Right, so I can install, more.
I mean, yeah,
more
honestly,
other games.
Let's take a look on this Microsoft. I have Halo, a game that I love the story of Halo. I love that. But in general, I don't really go back and play the story of Halo aside from taking somebody new through the story.
Right.
Most of them playing Halo, I'm like, all right, let's go into PvP and just shoot each other.
Yeah.
So,
And when you think about it, it's also a quicker download when you get to that point. Say you uninstalled the single player in Halo, and your friend's like, "Hey, can you take me through the story?" It's going to take you way less time to download.
yeah,
that.
I don't have to download the additional files again.
Right. So I think that's a good feature. I'm glad they're putting that in. Let's see here. They're saying things. They're talking about a little bit about the controller itself. Obviously, the DualShock 5 is the current going name for it. They're saying that it has an improved speaker on it.
Cool, yeah,
Which
that speaker was...
I actually really do like the speaker functionality on it.
Yes,
All
all the
you can
games
kind
that
of
I...
hear bleeps sometimes. Like I barely ever heard that thing make a noise.
all of
I played
the
a lot of
games-
games where it had it.
All of the games that I played that added it in a really subtle way that I appreciated. In The Last of Us, it was the click of your flashlight.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. And when I played, what was the one with it was like 4 players and you would drop down on a planet. You know what I'm talking about?
Fortnite?
No, not Fortnite. Anyway, it had this gun system with adaptive reloads the same way you have in Gears of War. Well, once you got to the end of your magazine, the gun sounds would start coming out of the controller, and it would make a different sound the further you got to empty. So you'd go from like bang, bang, bang to bang, ching, clip, and then you knew you were empty. But it started coming out of the controller, and I really appreciated that.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, there's little fun things that developers can put in there. I'm not opposed to putting a speaker into a controller if it doesn't really increase the price or
Right.
take something else away,
And
like
yeah.
a better rumble or
PlayStation
something.
controllers have always been notoriously cheap for what they are. I think you can get a PlayStation 4 controller right now for $40, and they're good controllers.
So yeah, it's going to be USB-C. We're going to get a larger capacity battery for it. So these are all-
USB-C is nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
everything should switch to USB-C.
Yeah.
Honestly, having it on my phone and on my PC, just so much fucking easier. What direction do I plug this in? You just plug
Doesn't
it in.
matter.
It's just done.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a lot of talk about ray tracing, which is a whole other technical thing that we would spend 5
fucking
hours
not.
trying describing over this podcast.
I really want to imagine a console, a PlayStation 5, trying to ray trace anything at more than 5 frames a second, because it's there. It's going to the amount of cost to get ray tracing to run at even 30 is ridiculously high right now.
Yeah, ray tracing is rough. It is a good technology, but we are still too early in it. In the same way we were with NVIDIA Hairworks when like The Witcher 3 and even Final Fantasy 15 came out.
Yeah. So let's not get into the technical aspects of that. We'll save that for a different time. We
It's
don't.
cool, but it's not going to work well.
Right. They're talking about updating the UI, which is something that we here on the podcast have been talking for a long time. That the UI needs to be updated for the PlayStation.
Fucking finally.
Like real badly.
Please just make it not suck. That's my one thing. Just take what you have right now, which is entirely made of suck, and don't do that.
All they're promising is to change it. They didn't say they're going to make it not
They're
suck.
like, we made it a different color. Fuck you.
And all we know about it right now, all the specifics they could give us, because I mean they're probably just in the very early prototypes of it, is that you can see details on what you can play at any time, as well as what your friends are doing. So basically, it's going to give you more visibility on the dashboard. Like right now, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's been like 3 hours since I've been on my PlayStation. To find out if my friend is playing, say, Spider-Man and what they are doing in Spider-Man, I have to go to the game Spider-Man, partially open it up, see what my friend is doing.
Instead, it'll say Spider-Man, but then you go into the game, you're like Spider-Man level 3.
Yeah.
Or open world shooting or whatever.
They're going to make it a lot easier for you to just look at all your friends' information, see what they're up to, see what you can jump into.
Yeah. I have
it's more Discord-esque.
They have a lot of good examples to pull from right now. I don't know if you guys have seen the Steam redesign yet. It looks amazing. The GOG 2.0 right now, which is also in beta, also looks amazing. They're doing a really good job of showing you the games you can play, and when you hover over them, showing you which of your friends are playing those games and what they're doing, just literally by tabbing over to that game and looking at it, and then you can press play, and you can even just press a friend and join right on them. That's cool stuff, and I hope to see a lot of that copied into the
I do like
PlayStation
a
UI.
situation in which you can just like push a button and just join right on your friends. I mean that's A+ for me.
Weirdly, so this is something that no longer exists because I had to talk about Destiny at some point.
Damn it.
In their friends playlist thing, when you saw all your friends, all your Battle.net friends, if they were playing a different game, whether it was WoW or Hearthstone or whatever, it brought up a specific, show their name, but it'd have the symbol in the banner
the
for
icon,
that game
That's
while they were playing
Battle.net,
it.
yeah.
That's
and it was just
Battle.net.
really
That's
interesting
awesome.
that it was like a game that's not part of them had that integration, because the first time I went in there and I saw a Hearthstone symbol, I was like, what the fuck is that doing in here? And I was like, did I miss a thing?
Was there a Hearthstone event?
Yeah, I was like, am I going crazy? And you're like,
Well, there definitely was a Hearthstone.
Yeah, there was
event.
definitely a Hearthstone event this week. Oh my!
The last thing that we really have to mention is that Blue Point Games, the ones who worked on the remake of Shadow of the Colossus and Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection, is working on a PS5 game. We don't know if it's a remake. We don't know if it's an original title, and they say it's a really big one. So we assume it's probably a remake or a sequel to something. It was kind of left vague, but that was part of the news they kind of put out there for it. And these are the basics of what we know about the PS5. We don't have the exact date. We don't have the exact price point, but this is all the stuff that we pretty much knew was going to be there. This is all expected news. I don't think this was going to shake the foundation of anything.
No, we pretty much predicted all of this.
But we also know that E3 is right around the corner.
Yeah, see the list that we've gone through, and if this is all we've verified with Sony, they're like, yes, this is what's coming out. Right. I've seen so many more rumors about things that are in the PS5 at this point that I'm like, cool, there's like 20 other things that I've read, which is why I don't believe any of it.
Yeah, the
This
big
is
rumor.
this is the narrowed, actual, verified Sony said yes to these checkbox. Right. Anything else, what it looks like, how many cores it has, how many strippers you can fit inside of it, backwards compatibility, any of that stuff has not been fully disclosed. It's all rumor and speculation. So, people have been asking the question, is it going to have backwards compatibility? There's rumors saying that it's backwards compatible with some games, but not with others. We know that Sony filed a patent over the last year for backwards compatibility, specifically based around the PS5 to PS4. Is that something that's going to be integrated? Is it something that's going to be at launch, or is that something that's going to be later?
It might be later on.
Right. Well, they're looking at backwards compatibility from, in the rumor mill, all like back through the entire library.
Yeah, because the way it took Microsoft literally creating a new way for it to run games, and then to rip apart old games and put them into the new one, and to be able to get the backwards compatibility that they have now, where it goes back to the original Xbox, which was a lot of work, but their game catalog just keeps growing every single day.
Yeah.
All right, that's everything that we have for the news this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going to our main section of the podcast in the Bosch Room. I just need to grab some more drink, and then we're going to go for this.
This week, the boss is capitalism.
Yeah, the boss is capitalism this week, guys. Spoilers.
God damn it.
Damn it, new table.
Also, yeah, let's not knock anything over because this might fail at any moment. I'm worried about this table now. Until I epoxy everything, I don't know. Just go over there, new thing. Just there. You're not in frame at all. Even this thing isn't even framed. One day we'll have the things framed. There's things. Just literally the thing. Followed by the thing and very loud ice. Cheers. I can't get the dog to work. I don't know. Like, I updated everything, and now it broke shit. I added like all new terms of services and shit. So I'm like, okay, what happened to our fucking silly nerd? What happened to the corgi dog, the Jenny dog that I could put on there, and that doesn't fucking work. Busting out the strong buzz.
Fuck yeah, I am.
I suggest opening all of them now because they take about 2 minutes to drink.
You get a variety pack there?
I did.
That's
So they're
pretty cool.
little mini ones. I'm going to open all of them right now so I'm not disturbing anybody. These are all tiny.
They're pretty. Those are like in this microphone, or the headphone set. They're actually not that loud.
Yeah.
They're pretty quiet. This guy was loud.
Tiny Strongbos. There we go.
That's the one I suggest drinking first as well.
The cherry blossom
Yeah,
one. That's pretty good.
Work
That
them
sounds
in
nice.
this way. Is the way I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because the last one I had, I ended on this one, and it was just odd.
Yeah.
It was like the odd one out.
I like the rosé last.
Alrighty.
All right.
My back hurts right now. I'm sitting like straight up so I can be like in frame. So the moment I sit back, I just like I look fucking fat, and useless.
Yeah, I'm trying not to like lean forward too
Yeah,
hard.
this is all new to us. Like we're trying to make it a studio setup. We're gonna be messing with some of the settings over the next week to make the borders not as
Thank
big.
you.
and all that stuff.
Welcome, Jenny Dog. But no, I was gonna suggest both of y'all look at some of the IGN podcasts that they do. They YouTube them, so you can just go to IGN and look whatever. That's the way they have it set up. It's generally for 3 people.
Okay.
And that would make the most sense, honestly. That's not my dream, but my goal is to just mimic as much as I can from their setup.
Yeah.
Because it's in a room I think smaller than this,
Right.
and is set up very well.
Well, I'm glad that our acoustics sound good. Thanks for the feedback.
Yeah,
on that,
Yeah.
guys.
Are we echoing at all? Because we have nothing stopping us.
I don't think there's. Well, the carpet is pretty beefy. I feel like it would stop the echo.
You like the brown shag?
It's such a weird choice for a house this
Name of my
small.
next band is Brown Shag.
Brown shag. Oh man.
All right, this is going to be a very in-depth discussion. Feel free to chime in at any point. It's
Yeah.
going to be pretty deep. So
I'm gonna say some mean shit about Blizzard.
yep, that's going to be rough. It hurts my heart that we're here, but that's where we're at. I'm going to put up a disclaimer before we get started.
Cool.
So,
Do you need the keyboard?
no, I have it written down so I could just say it.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to put it.
No,
disclaimer.
I'm putting.
I was
it.
like, we can do that.
Thank you, Brooklyn.
5 months. We're having a month off over
We are
here.
Hell
having
yeah.
a month off. That's fantastic. I love it. This has been a good day for us. Thank you, guys.
You know what? I do have a phone. It's over there on silent because
Y'all just blowing up.
and
our
I don't
chat.
play games. On
You know who's got phones?
Oh, man,
Protesters in Hong Kong.
Protesters in Hong Kong don't have phones.
They just ripped out the app that allowed them to share information.
Thanks, Apple. You're so fantastic.
Yeah, good. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm just getting. Fuck you to everybody.
You guys have been so wonderful for us coming back. Thank you guys so much. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Alrighty. Fuck me. I lost it again. Oh, there it is. It's only like 6 feet away.
Yeah.
I'm trying to fucking use this.
You just got to turn on old lady mice size.
Yeah.
That we might actually have to do that. I can't see this fucking.
Not a
thing.
bad idea.
The weekly raid.
Or you can redo that because you were in the wrong section.
What? We're not, oh yeah, we're in boss room.
Gonna need to redo that one.
That's going to be a hard no for me, bro.
Yeah. I like the way he looked at you when you said you were gonna have to redo it. Like, why? That was fucking
That's
on point.
Great.
He was
That
like,
that was fun. I enjoyed that.
What was wrong with it? Well, it's the wrong section.
That's the wrong line. Well, fine. Cut. Boss room.
Hey, greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to the show. This is our Boss Room, our main discussion for the episode. Sometimes it's related to the news, sometimes not. This week's Boss Room is going to be kind of in two parts. So in part one, we'll be talking a bit about China's influence on the entertainment industry. And in part two, we'll be getting into what actually happened this week between China and Blizzard Entertainment. It's a pretty heavy episode, but it's a very important episode. So let's go ahead and kind of jump into it. Now, before we begin this talk, I would like to specify to listeners that when we are discussing China during this section, we are specifically talking about the government of China and not necessarily individual citizens of China nor anyone who is of Chinese ethnicity. It sounds like a weird stipulation to put in there, but the more that I realize how we're just going to be saying like, oh, it's just China in the talk, it's going to come off weird. I felt like I just needed to put that disclaimer at the very beginning.
Yeah, because we're probably going to say, well, but China did X and Y, and we need you to understand that we mean the Chinese government.
Right. That's specifically what we're talking about here. So it's come as no surprise to anyone that China really holds a huge amount of power over the entertainment industry and really has for some time. So before we dive too deep into that, just panel real quick, why is that?
Okay, so this is the part where your disclaimer is the kind of where I have to break out of it because it is individual people, corporations that are housed within China that have been taking their vast sums of money and putting it towards the entertainment industry, not the Chinese government.
Right.
That's where I was like, fuck, I immediately have to break this because it's not the Chinese government doing this. It's giant corporations that are of Chinese creation that have been influencing.
You say that,
filmmaking.
but remember the government of China fancies itself a communist one.
Yeah.
You do have giant mega corporations like Tencent. Tencent, you assholes. Tencent, the company, while it does produce many of its own things, prides itself on investing in something like over 400 other companies in several industries, to the point where it becomes a significant percentage of that business's revenue in the Chinese market. The NBA is a very good example of this.
Yes. Saying
that their revenue at this point from China is about 10%, which led to all of the NBA stuff that's been going on.
Yep. We had the Houston Rockets, I want to say GM, recently made a tweet in support of the Hong Kong protests and was asked to take it down. A lot of fire came down on them for that, and they came back and said, nope, we're going to give you back your freedom of speech.
Yeah, maybe we should do I'm sure you guys all know, but basically what's going on right now is Hong Kong is supposedly a free space. It is not technically controlled by China, by the Chinese
Because
government.
history lesson, real fast of that.
Yeah,
it was controlled by England for up until, was it the year 2000?
Yeah.
At which point they handed it off to China, but in that agreement was that it still gets to stay an independent state.
For 50 years.
Yes.
Right.
And it seems like that 50 years is getting really squished down to like 20.
Right. In reaction to laws made where that would allow Hong Kong citizens to be deported into mainland China as kind of a... Like, if you do crimes that the Chinese government doesn't like, you can be deported from your home in Hong Kong into mainland China, where the punishments for such things can be very harsh.
So, yeah, there's a lot of basically the Chinese government's trying to flex on Hong Kong. Hong Kong's like, no, we want to be a free democracy. We don't want to be a part of the Chinese communist regime that you have going on. Thus, lots of riots have been going on. Protests have been going on. That is the basis of what a lot of this
Non-stop
discussion.
protests for about a month or two now.
Yes, so very specifically, they are protests. The Chinese government has tried to have them labeled as riots and protesters as rioters.
They're just straight up standing around being like, we're just going to stand here.
They're literally
With
in
our
the
signs.
streets demanding democracy from Hong Kong. And this is what they're being vilified for.
Right. So now that we've kind of established what the big deal about China is, and obviously funding is the number one kind of go-to answer for this, it doesn't just mean that China pays for movies, though. China, when we talk about the Chinese influence on media and what it means for movies, it's been happening for years in subtle ways that people just don't even realize. I've got a bunch of examples here. We have one for World War Z, the movie that was horrific, based on a really fantastic book. Actually had to cut down the script's mention of the virus originating in China. The remake of Red Dawn, the villains were changed to North Korea were the Chinese originally.
Yeah, they had to go and digitally change. I remember that we talked about both of these things on the show way back in the day.
2016.
That was whenever they had to digitally change all of the flags and insignias on everything in the film. And honestly, the remake of it wasn't that bad.
It was all right.
But I think it may have been culturally better had they not done that. Because we have things like this, and you can be like, "Well, Red Dawn totally brought this up ages ago."
Right, and I mean, we've seen so many Chinese skylines and products in all the recent Transformers movies, all the Michael Bay movies, heavily funded by Tencent, though.
So in 2016, there's a website. It's gmin.com, I believe is the name of it. I apologize if I mispronounce that. It made a list of 18 Hollywood films that deliberately catered to the CCP's censorship in order to enter the Chinese market. So I have a couple examples here. One was Doctor Strange. They said they took the Ancient One from being Chinese.
Tibetan.
Tibetan.
So in the comics, the Ancient One is like the epitome old Chinese man,
right?
But he's also Tibetan. There's a lot of problems with the original Ancient One, but I don't want to get into
Well, it's really when you have a lot of characters written by white dudes, and you're trying to explain a culture that you are not part of.
Now, to be fair,
get some shit fucked up.
Marvel did say that was a change that they made willingly because they didn't want to have those stereotypes in there, which does make sense.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting that one at the forefront, but that was one. The rumors are that one.
If you want to have your films shown in China at all, you never mention what Tibet is ever.
Right. And you have to, and if anything is going to be Taiwan, you have to call it Taiwan, China.
Right.
Yes, there's a lot of restrictions because China considered those places China.
Even though they super aren't.
And those places super do not consider themselves China.
Iron Man, the reason that the Mandarin was changed
that makes sense.
Chinese influence. Also, if you go and rewatch Iron Man 3, if you watch like the deluxe edition, there's a bunch of additional scenes where they actually have like famous like Chinese pop stars in it. These are scenes that were
specifically shot and only put in the Chinese version of the film so it would do better in that market.
Right. And so it's gotten to the point as far as studios catering to the Chinese government to where I don't know if y'all remember why Venom became famous the way it did. It wasn't because it was a particularly good movie. It was fine. It wasn't particularly critically successful, but it did very, very well in China.
I will acknowledge that movie exists.
Yes, it did very, very well in China to the point where it did so well in China that it kind of didn't have to do well anywhere else. It's just automatic sequel machine.
Because, I mean, at least for that market, you're going to make your sequel money by doing it. Like, why you don't have to worry about U.S. or anybody else?
Exactly.
Let's see here. In 2007, in Pirates of the Caribbean 3, all scenes showing Cantonese actor Chow Yun-fat were deleted to meet the party's requirement of not depicting Chinese as pirates.
Except for historically, totally Chinese pirates were a fucking thing.
That's the thing.
But according to the Chinese government, you cannot depict Chinese members of...
That's cool. There's this thing called history, and it's actually...
But not in China.
Chinese pirates.
But not in China.
I know history started with people than the Communist Party started, but...
So in case you guys haven't gotten the gist of this, the word of the day is censorship. And the thing about China is they will, at the drop of a hat, censor literally anything. It was it was that one tweet from the Houston Rockets GM that got a lot of... Chinese businesses within a matter of days pulling Houston Rockets merch from their stores, from their web presences, and the NBA matches just not being aired in China anymore.
Yeah, and for those of you not basketball hip, I guess is one would say, the Houston Rockets are a big deal in China.
Yeah, it's a big franchise.
We had a very popular Houston Rocket who was from China, Yao Ming, and I mean that's why there's
his restaurant was kind of okay.
Yeah, but he was a big deal, and there's a reason that China specifically loved the Houston Rockets, and it just all of a sudden within a day just went from all the NBA to zero NBA, just like because the government said no.
Yeah, no, and it's frightening that this area, this company, country, kind of the same thing, honestly.
Yeah,
has this kind of pull to where they can change entire corporations that are housed in another country don't have anything to do there aside from they get money from their entire policies. We mentioned Apple giving in immediately to Chinese, the Chinese.
Yeah, there was an app that
government
allowed the
demands.
protesters to track the locations of protests and track the locations of major police movements. They were doing it strictly by reporting it to each other. It wasn't any illegal tracking software. It was just
like Waze. It was a cop is here.
It was just a well-created app that did absolutely nothing illegal, but it was pulled from the Apple Store immediately when the government asked for it.
Yeah, but then Apple also pulls a comic book because it showed a boob.
Right.
So Apple's kind of got their own head up their ass.
I think the most ridiculous case when we talk about censorship in China is it became a bit of a meme with their leader, Xi Jinping, looks a little bit like the cartoon Winnie the Pooh. So,
the more you look at him, the more he does.
Because he didn't enjoy this comparison, he had the image of Winnie the Pooh banned in China, like a normal, secure man is wont to do. He
must have the biggest dick.
Yeah, I was going to say the biggest dick.
He banned Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh with this fucking the teddy bear that's probably not mentally all there.
Yeah.
Is not allowed in China.
But we laugh about this. But when we talk about shows like Black Mirror and some of the things that happen there, for example, it was talked about this week that this Chinese scientist came up with this, like, what was it, 500 whatever
500 megapixel camera.
Yes, the camera that can track that can use facial recognition software to track you from like a baseball stadium away.
Yeah, it's like you throw these into space and you've got everybody.
And it's capable of tracking an entire crowd of faces with one camera.
Yeah, and you watch this, and it's like something you would see like on a monitor in Mission Impossible or something, but it's all real, and it's what they have been working on.
Yeah, and that's fucking terrifying and wrong and bad, and we don't need to do that.
Yep.
The problem is, once the genie's out of the bottle, you can't put the fucker back in.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this is just going to get worse and worse, and we happen to live in a place that could possibly go that way very quickly.
Right. Let's not forget, China has a good citizenship app that is, I believe, no longer
optional.
That it's no longer voluntary.
Yeah.
Where you are in this system the same way we're all in the social security system, but you get points for being a good citizen, doing things like paying your rent on time and voting in air quotes. And you get bad things
for one person.
Yeah, but you get points taken away for maybe speaking up on social media about something you're not really supposed to talk about, or moving jobs too many times. Either way, your score determines things like whether or not you can buy a house, or whether or not you can apply for a loan,
whether or not you can get internet,
whether or not you can get the internet, whether or not you can get an education.
Mm-hmm. It's all based on a social score. And so if you're what we're talking about here, if you're like, well, this doesn't really affect me because, like, sure, it's the movies I watch, but it doesn't seem to really. I still love the movies that I watch. This is not just relegated to like the movies that you watch in air quotes. There's a company called Wanda that is affiliated with the Chinese regime. And since about 2012, they've spent about $10 billion to acquire Legendary Entertainment, AMC, Carmike Cinemas, Dick Clark Productions, who is the producer of the Golden Globe Awards, as well as other firms within Hollywood. I mean, AMC alone is huge.
Yeah.
Legendary Entertainment. So that is this is the company that makes the product. This is the person the people that are making the films. Then AMC is the place that is the distribution point. Which, by the way, this is entirely illegal in the United States to be able to own.
Oh, yes.
Both of these things. We made that illegal a long time ago because of the way Hollywood was originally structured, and it kind of fucking sucked.
In fact, when AMC took over Carmike Cinemas, it became the largest chain cinema worldwide.
Cool. You literally just gave me more reasons to never go to AMC.
Right.
So,
so they've got the ability to make the films, to release the films, and then give those films awards. Mm-hmm. This seem a little bit fucked up to anybody,
right? and that's kind of China's MO, is it will buy the entire downline of something, so that they have complete control over it and no oversight.
Yeah, and that's exactly what is happening, specifically in that one case.
Yeah.
But it goes more than just this one case.
Oh yeah, it goes very, very deep. And so what you need to know about this, and kind of the summary of Act 1 as we go forward on this, is that what China really tries to do with these films and television shows and other things is they promote what they call soft power. It's a term used very heavily by a political science teacher in University of Southern California that specializes in Chinese politics and society. And it's this idea of, air quotes, telling China's story. Right. This is a stated mission that comes from like the China Global Television Network, which is kind of the overseas arm of like China's state broadcaster, CCTV. This is them taking and making China always look like a positive force throughout the world by ownership and distribution of film and television.
Right.
And that if you go against that, guess what? Your company's probably partially owned by Chinese.
Yeah, if they're not already partially owned by it, then you are going to try and get money from that market. And the only way to get money from that market is to appeal to that market. The only way to appeal to that market is get the government behind you. The only way to get the government behind you is for them to give you money to then make the product that is for that market. Right. And it just seems like you're kind of getting fucked all around when you just wanted to make a fun story about a fucking teddy bear so everybody else can wiggle around and have fun. There's a fucking donkey who's sad.
So
I brought it back to the other one,
just but before we get deep into the Blizzard thing, and we can really start talking about how this might affect you as a listener, as a gamer, and a movie watcher, and probably even eventually a comic reader, it can really affect you as an American citizen. The last thing that we got, the last bit of news that happened when it came to the NBA in China was that there were some people at a baseball game being played at a basketball game, being played with Free Hong Kong signs, and they were basically their signs were taken and they were kicked out of the stadium for yelling Free Hong Kong. This happened in Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, these people with Free Hong Kong signs were deemed too rambunctious to stay at a sporting event. This is a city famous for getting drunk after a victory, trashing their own town and punching the police horses.
I got a problem with the punching the police horse.
Yeah, you shouldn't
everything
do that.
else I'm kind of okay with.
Please don't ever punch a horse. But I'm saying that Philadelphia is no stranger to like actual rambunctious sports fans.
Conan the Barbarian is allowed to punch a horse.
Now, these people were the two people with signs were simply sitting in their seats. One yelled "Free Hong Kong," and they both were asked to leave after
they
their
were
signs
actually
were taken
just
away.
partaking in the free speech that we as Americans get to partake in.
Right, but then
we
the NBA
can't have free speech anymore because another country is saying we own that television network, so you're not allowed to show that anymore.
Right. So here you have American citizens having China's rules on censorship enforced on us here. That is the reach that we're talking about.
Yeah, if this is scaring you, it absolutely should. Before we get into part 2, I just have 2 quick questions for the panel. What does this influence mean for cinema in America, and what is the cost of this influence?
Well, censorship costs us everything. That's why we have such strict laws about it. It's generally accepted, especially in comedy, that if you can't talk about something, you can't talk about anything. That everything has to be on the table. And while I don't always agree with that when it comes to certain things, and especially in certain contexts, having a government looking over your shoulder telling you what to do while you're trying to write something down and talk about something is far, far from ideal. Whether it's any government, I wouldn't trust the American government to do it. I don't trust the Chinese government to do it because they're fucking assholes about it.
Yeah, I personally, you brought up comedy, and I personally believe anything is allowed to be made fun of. It doesn't matter what it is. Everything in the world, every subject within the right context can be made fucking hilarious. And that is the power of the freedom of speech. That is the power of comedy. That you can take horrific, violent acts, these horrible things that have happened to people, and then twist it in a weird way and say something about it to add levity to even to some degree, and then sometimes maybe broaden people's horizons about a subject. That these things need to be talked about, and we're not going to get into what they are.
Right.
But whenever you are taking away my ability to even say these funny things to people, that's wrong. And having any governments, any entity stopping me from trying to make the world a better place, even through comedy, that's fucked up.
I mean, to be fair, like us just recording this podcast, we're basically on a list.
Oh, we are banned from China.
There are multiple stars, what is it? Lady Gaga is entirely banned from China, and banned no music's not allowed in China. Multiple people who come out in support of Hong Kong are now completely banned from China.
You know what? I'm happy to be on the same list that Lady Gaga is on.
Yeah, I need to be on more lists than she's on.
And it's the cost for us, like, let's say if we were trying to get a movie or a TV show done, you're going to make a fucking video game. Anything that is creative and an entertainment place where you have to spend money to then hopefully make money. There's always you gotta make leeways somewhere, right? That's the history of, how businesses work. Unfortunately, these leeways that are being put in place are very controlling later down the line. It's this little devil that you're allowing in to be like, oh, we'll just buy 10% of your company, and as long as you put this one scene in your movie, and then 10 years down the line, it's like, well, you're not allowed to say anything ever bad about anybody because we gave you so much money and we can literally rip it away from you.
Right. And that's the thing, is that when they control access to the Chinese market the way they do with an iron fist, they can lock you out of that 10% of the NBA's revenue I was talking about earlier. Yep. They can just turn the faucet off. And as we get into the next section, we'll talk about how companies just kind of fold over to that.
Right. So
bend right over and take it.
As we head into Act 2 of this, it should come as no surprise as we discuss this that Blizzard, the company famous for such games as World of Warcraft, Overwatch, a lot of the stuff that we know and love and play quite often, are partially owned by a Chinese company.
Yep. Yeah, one of the conglomerate the grabbers where they're just like, well, we're going to buy some of you, buy some of you, but we have so much investment in so many places that our hands are a billion fingers and we can just crush anything that we don't like.
Yeah, billionaire companies like Activision and Blizzard and the pairing of the two. They're going to take some Chinese money at some point. Yeah, so that's how you get that big.
So let's kind of catch up on the goings on for the week. Let's get to the news portion of all of this so we can kind of get into the meat of this. So a Hearthstone player, a very famous Hearthstone player, was in the middle of a Grandmasters tournament. His name is Blitzchung. And so he's in this Grandmasters tournament, and he's won. He's won, I think it was like 50 grand is what he won in the tournament. Mm-hmm. And he is, from Hong Kong. So I'm trying to set the scene for you if you haven't watched it. So there's the two monitors you watch. One screen is of him, and the other one is of the commentators who are commentating the Hearthstone match, these two Hearthstone commentators. At the very end of this, they're all celebrating. They're getting his interview with him, saying, how are you how are you feeling about this? You've just won this tournament and won all this money. And Blitzchung grabs a face mask, which is a sign of the Hong Kong protests, and says into the microphone, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age." And the moment he puts that mask on, the two commentators duck down behind the desk because they realize the Chinese government is about to come down on them with force that this thing happened. So a lot of stuff happened.
You don't want to be on camera directly after that, I guess.
So what happened initially after this, and this was done on the part of Blizzard, and keep this in mind, that yes, it probably had something come down from higher than Blizzard, if you believe that's a thing that can happen. He was completely banned from Hearthstone. So one of the greatest Hearthstone players in the world, completely banned.
1 year ban.
And then he got a 1 year ban, and then the commentators got fired. Just the people who didn't even say anything, they were on camera.
You just won. I got fired.
Yep.
That's how that went.
Absolutely got fired. Blizzard silence for a week.
Yeah. Don't forget when they banned him from the sport, they also said he would not be receiving his winnings.
Right. Oh yeah, they would completely take away his 50 grand that he won too. That was a part of it.
He would not be receiving those winnings.
Dick move.
Dick move.
I mean, on top of a dick move and the other dick move, that's an extra dick move.
This got so bad that the Blizzard subreddit had to be shut down. That's how bad it was. Not even just the Hearthstone subreddit, Blizzard subreddit had to be shut down because as soon as news got out about this, everybody started going against Blizzard.
For a long time now, we've known Activision was a giant piece of shit that we didn't like. But Activision and Blizzard, whenever they merged, and it was supposed to be a merger, supposed to be an equal partnership, we all were like, well, Blizzard's the cool one, and Activision's the asshole that makes Call of Duty.
Right. Well, let's not forget how interwoven China has been into Blizzard for... pretty much since World of Warcraft. The number of accounts they have, they had their own version of the game where there were no skeletons because that's a censorship thing in China. Go figure.
Yeah.
There's weird that's the thing about the Chinese censorship that we forget about is there's ridiculous ridiculous ass rules that make no sense. That
It's a religious thing.
Yeah.
Skeletons are a
I
religious
get
thing.
it. I get it. But it's just maybe we can have a post-religious society where where we can have skeletons and
Not
shit.
in China, bro.
Right. Well, that would be nice. But
Religion's not communist.
the thing about the thing about the Chinese control over Blizzard is that it goes pretty deep. I mean, there's all kinds of how many Chinese players are there in Overwatch League right now? I mean, dozens. There are entire teams made up of Chinese people. There are 2 different Chinese city teams at this point, or 3.
3 now.
3 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of Chinese presence in OWL, which is a big thing for Blizzard.
Yeah. So let's get into a little bit of that because immediately everybody went after Blizzard Online. Mei, a character within Overwatch, very quickly became the sign of the Hong Kong protest.
Okay, for people who don't play Overwatch, why?
She's Chinese.
Okay.
She's
Yeah,
she's of Chinese descent.
She's Chinese. She's a scientist. She's already launched about 10,000 memes, the thirstiest of memes, all over the internet. But her outfit has always been a very big signifier of who she is as a Chinese woman. Every time there is a holiday event, they dress her in like traditionally Chinese things based on that holiday. From Halloween all the way through Chinese New Year. It always has something interesting going on, but she always identified as Chinese. So we got some really, really incredible artwork of her with a face mask now, and her
with the umbrella.
With the umbrella, with actual accompaniments that Hong Kong protesters have had to use to stave off things like tear gas being chucked at them and things like that. So she's holding all of this equipment, wearing her face mask that says "Democracy Now, Free Hong Kong," and this is honestly some
And honestly,
really cool art.
they take a bunch of quotes from her from the game and use those against Blizzard. You know, these ideas. You know, the world could always use more heroes, and that you need to fight for what's right. Things that May actually says in game.
Yep.
And they've just turned her into a symbol against China, which is one of the most amazing moves to do. Like, if you're gonna protest, like, wow, way to protest with.
Yeah.
By the way, you guys already wrote this protest into your game. We're just gonna give it back to you, bro.
Right.
We're literally going to do use the thing that you made to tell you to fuck off.
Right. So imagine the kind of cosplay we have coming at BlizzCon, right?
Oh,
Which is
absolutely.
right around the goddamn corner.
That's something that, like, I don't know if it's in the notes for the thing, but because Reddit is a thing that exists and it has allowed a lot of people in the United States to come together about this subject, BlizzCon is going to be just basically a giant protest.
So we're going to talk about that here in just